Hello guys and welcome to this, my ultimate faith and strength build in Elden Ring. Let's get into this. I've got loads of examples to show you, but let's show you the build firstly. So, stats over to the right, we are 122 rune level. It is going to be a 125 build, but I got eager and I've sort of jumped ahead, so let me tell you exactly where I'm going to distribute my points. But we've got 40 vigour, some investment in mind, as this is a faith build of course, but predominantly melee, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So my playstyle is probably different to a lot of the spell casting spammers that you come across in Duels at present. So 23 investment in mind, a few points invested into endurance, taking it up to 15, strength at 46, it's actually 44, but I've got some gear that's just pushing that up actually. Intelligence, I did put a couple of points in intelligence, and I'm going to explain to you why in a moment. And faith at 43. We are going to finish at faith at 46. So this is a real focused faith and strength build. Now what this build is about is primarily melee first and foremost. So actually the way I'm viewing my incantations is that they synergize with my melee gameplay as that leads from the front. So ultimately I'm looking to buff myself, ready myself against bleed, which we're going to talk about, and try and survive for as long as I can for both invasions and duels. And then of course we've got some real dynamic incantations that sort of mix things up and sort of throw the enemy off guard. Loads of examples to show you. So what I've gone with, and I haven't took them to max yet, is a Troll's Golden Heavy Sword, scales at B, and it's a huge weapon, and we are using the Lion's Claw Ash of War on this, and you saw a couple of examples of that at the start, loads more gameplay to show you on this. It is destructive. And the way I was thinking about this is poke is usually a meta in PvP, so if you've ever played Dark Souls 3 PvP, any poke weapon, any thrust weapon that can move quickly is going to just throw the enemy off, and it's extremely annoying. So I was trying to think about how I can be dynamic and sort of counter lots of different scenarios. So we've got a huge heavy hit weapon, and then we've got something that will thrust and I can run and chase, and you're going to see examples of that again. I've put the Sacred Blade Ash of War on this. It's got an amazing cool L2 wave that shoots out, and again that threw off the enemies a lot of times, and of course then it casts and buffs the weapon with sacred damage. I'm converting it to heavy for the flat rate, and I didn't notice any deficit to the sacred damage on the L2 attack. So really good couple of weapons, keep you dynamic, and just because you're a strength build doesn't mean you can't use light weapons. That's the beauty of Elden Ring. Then of course we've got the Erdtree Seal, so I'm going to talk about my incantations in a second, but my build is a combination of pretty much Erdtree and Bestial, because Bestial incantations scale with strength, so it's absolutely perfect for you to make use of Bestial incantations, and if anything it's recommended. So we've got the Clawmark Seal at plus 24. And then I've got the Great Turtle Shield, which actually I don't make a lot of use of, but my thinking was if I get into a situation where I've just got a block, I'm keeping this in tow. Obviously this adds to your weight, so you've got to consider all of this stuff, which is why on the armour front I'm pretty light, but I don't see that as a downside. I'm not a big fan of huge heavy armour, it makes no sense to me. So we are using the Hymer Glintstone Crown to buff my intelligence by 2, and I'm going to explain to you why in a moment. And then the Kaiden armour, which is pretty good from a robustness perspective, however it's not too heavy. And robustness is key because if you've noticed, bleed is the meta in PvP, and actually it's broken. It's not even the meta, it's just corrupt at the moment. So my whole build is to counter those bleed guys that spam you with L2. So we have got the Mottled Necklace at plus 1. This greatly raises your robustness, and then we're comboing that with the Stalwart Horn Charm. Oh look at that, it greatly raises your robustness. And I have got some example footage, lots of it in fact, that shows my resistance against hemorrhage is hugely increased from what it was before. And not only am I using these two charms, I'm going to sort of explain how I combo that with an incantation to take my robustness even higher. Then we've got the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman at plus 1, greatly boosting my physical damage negation. and then the Great Jars Arsenal, so we can carry all of these goodies and still have quick roll. And then our Wondrous Blast of Physic, I've sort of stuck to using the Opaline Bubble Tear because it means when I invade I can get off some crazy attacks first without getting taken out, so you're going to see that again in gameplay coming up. And then the Faith Knot just to boost my faith, as I'm pretty happy with the strength damage I'm outputting. So we talked about those charms, let's see how they synergize with my incantations. So one of the first things I do is I activate Dragon Bolt Blessing. It doesn't really matter, but I tend to do it with the Erd Tree. And what that does, that also increases my robustness. So not only are you getting the robustness boost from these two charms or talismans, then you're tripling up with the Dragon Bolt Blessing. And I really did see some real tangible improvements to resisting hemorrhage. It was absolutely superb, in fact. Then we are casting Order's Blade on this huge sword, and again this is a real tangible increase of sort of 100 to 150 plus damage on top. We are casting Golden Vow for increased damage resistance and damage output. And then what I'm typically doing is switching to the Clawmark Seal and firing off Garang's Beast Claw. I've got loads of examples about how devastating this is in invasions. It just throws everyone off. In duels, in fact, it's far less useful. And again, I've got lots of duels to show you too. So in duels, aspects of the Crucible Horns is quite good. And in particular, Bestial Sling. Having Bestial Sling just throws off enemies. You can finish them off from a distance when they've only got a little bit of health. And yeah, it's just a real sort of interesting and adaptable and tactical incantation to use. So there you go, guys. That is my ultimate strength and faith build. Now I've really got to show you it in action to be a man of my word. Keep watching, huge amount of gameplay coming up. And if you're new, consider subscribing. If you're not new, you're already a legend. Thank you.